In global economics, some nations are known for their resources, others for their innovations. But China, it's widely recognized for one thing: manufacturing power. The image is iconic: massive factories, endless production lines, and global markets filled with goods, from your phone to your sneakers. And in 2023 alone, China exported over $3.38 trillion worth of goods. But here's what many overlook: nearly $1 trillion of that came from foreign companies, especially American firms operating inside China. Take Apple's iPhone. More than 80% of its devices are assembled in Chinese factories, mostly run by Foxconn. But the profits, they flow back to Apple's headquarters in California. The same goes for HP, Dell, and many others. China builds the product, but the ownership, design, and revenue remain in the West. So if China does the manufacturing and the West takes the profits, why did trade tensions rise? Why the tariffs and restrictions? Your support helps us deliver real-world analysis every week. If you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Let's get back to the story and dive into part 1. Technology isn't just about ideas, it's about cost. It can take billions of dollars and years of research and development to create a new innovation. But sometimes those innovations are copied in a fraction of the time, at a fraction of the cost. And that's where many Western companies began raising concerns. Over the past 2 decades, some US and European firms have accused certain competitors in China of engaging in questionable practices. From forced tech transfers to unauthorized replication of designs to allegations of industrial espionage. One widely discussed case involved Huawei and Cisco in the early 2000s. Cisco claimed its router manuals and software code had been copied. The dispute was eventually settled privately, but it sparked years of scrutiny around telecom tech security. Another major example: US chipmaker Micron Technology filed a complaint against Fujian Jinhua, alleging it had acquired Micron's DRAM designs through employees previously working for Micron in Taiwan. The US government even labeled the incident a national security threat and blocked Jinhua from accessing any American technology. So, whether it's telecom software, chip blueprints, or clean energy tech, the message is clear. Innovation is expensive, but copying it is cheap. And that creates an unfair pricing advantage in global markets, one that doesn't reward the original inventors. And that brings us to our next chapter. When governments tilt the playing field while Western companies raise concerns about intellectual property, there's another issue shaping global competition: massive state support. In a free market, companies compete on innovation, price, and efficiency. But what happens when one government actively boosts its own industries? We're talking about low-interest loans, tax breaks, free land, and direct subsidies, reducing production costs significantly. Take the case of electric vehicles. Chinese automaker BYD, now one of the world's top EV brands, grew rapidly thanks to consistent government backing, including financial incentives for buyers, preferential tax policies, and large-scale investment in research and development. And manufacturing. Even in the US, shifting policies had an impact. As federal subsidies for electric vehicles were reduced and new rules tied incentives to local production and sourcing, Elon Musk expressed frustration, pointing out that US support had weakened, while Chinese firms continued to benefit from strong government policies. A similar story unfolded in the solar panel industry. Chinese manufacturers received support that allowed them to offer products below global market prices. This led to a flood of low-cost panels in Europe and the US, making it difficult for domestic firms to compete, and in some cases, forcing them out of the market. So why don't other governments do the same? Because under World Trade Organization rules, government subsidies that distort competition and harm other nations' industries may be considered unfair trade practices. This has led to anti-dumping investigations and tariffs on several Chinese products. It's not just about cost advantage. It's a legal and strategic battle over how far state support should go in shaping the future of global industries. This global model helped lower prices worldwide, but in America, it came with painful consequences. Thousands of factories shut down. Millions of industrial jobs disappeared, especially in towns built around manufacturing. As American factories declined, U.S. companies operating in China expanded. Today, these companies support over 1.7 million jobs inside China, from factory workers to engineers and supply chain staff. In other words, the jobs didn't disappear. They moved far away from the towns that once depended on them. This shift raised deep questions about America's industrial future and whether the country needed to bring some of its manufacturing back. That's why the U.S. administration at the time began pushing for change. It pressured major companies to keep or return some of their production to the U.S. One of the most high-profile examples was Carrier, the air conditioning company that had planned to move its Indiana factory to Mexico. After political pressure, it reversed course, keeping the plant open and saving hundreds of American jobs. Even Apple began assembling some devices in Texas instead of relying entirely on production in China. While these efforts didn't fix everything, they sent a clear message. Manufacturing was back on the national agenda, and bringing jobs home was no longer just talk. If you've made it this far, you're clearly a thoughtful viewer. Don't forget to support Trend Fact Report by hitting like and subscribing. It really helps us grow and bring you even deeper stories. Thank you. And now, back to the story. Amid all the rising trade and political tensions, the world's focus is shifting to something tiny, yet immensely powerful. Tiny semiconductor chips. Astonishingly small, yet they power everything around us. From your smartphone, to electric vehicles, to satellites, drones, and even smart weapon systems. These chips have become the lifeblood of modern technology, and whoever controls them controls the future. This was enough for the U.S. to sound the alarm. Washington imposed strict export controls, blocking advanced chip technology from reaching China and barring American engineers from assisting Chinese efforts. But here's the twist. Over half of the world's advanced chips are made by a single company, TSMC in Taiwan. A self-governing island China still claims as its own. Any military escalation there could paralyze global tech supply chains in an instant. So the U.S. moved quickly. It encouraged companies like TSMC, Samsung, and Intel to build new plants on American soil. TSMC is investing over $40 billion in Arizona. Samsung is building a new facility in Texas. And Intel is expanding major operations in Ohio as part of a national effort to reclaim chip manufacturing. But the challenge doesn't end there. Chip production also relies on rare earth materials, and China currently controls over 70% of global output. This makes it a powerful strategic lever in Beijing's hands. To counter this, the U.S. and its allies are seeking alternative sources in Africa, Australia, and Canada. But replacing China won't happen overnight. But even with all these efforts, replacing China's dominance in raw materials won't be easy or quick. Projects in Africa, Australia, and Canada require years of investment and infrastructure. So for now, reliance on China remains a reality the world can't escape. This brings us back to the heart of the relationship. Despite rising tensions and global competition, their interests remain deeply connected. China has the manufacturing power, and the U.S. holds the innovation and market influence. That's why every time decoupling is discussed, reality reminds us. Both sides still need each other, whether they admit it or not. What do you think? Are we moving toward a golden agreement that satisfies both sides? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a long-term economic separation between the world's biggest powers? If you found this breakdown insightful, please support us with a like and a channel subscription so we can keep delivering deeper content and reliable analysis. Thanks for watching.